A single sealed envelope, hand-delivered on a fog-tinted morning at Balmoral, has just jolted the House of Windsor, and the fallout could redraw the royal line of succession. What was inside? A private wish from the late Queen Elizabeth II that elevates Princess Catherine far beyond the title everyone assumed she would one day hold. Scotland's granite grey castle has hosted plenty of family showdowns, yet insiders swear this latest summit felt different. Imagine the royal drawing room, antique clocks ticking, rain kissing the windows when Princess Anne quietly stepped forward, slipped the letter across the polished table, and shattered the room's calm. One courtier later admitted, "You could hear the fireplace crack louder than anybody's breathing." How often does a monarch speak from beyond the grave? The letter's message landed like a thunderclap. Queen Elizabeth didn't merely picture Catherine as consort to a future king, she envisaged her as a sovereign in her own right, an echo of Elizabeth I, wielding full authority rather than standing one respectful step behind William. No wonder press officers scrambled for talking points while courtiers reached for the smelling salts. Why does that single statement matter now? Because it arrives amid William's push for a radical financial shake-up. The Prince of Wales has spent months mapping reforms that would streamline the monarchy's public funding and eclipse the old everyone gets a slice model. Treasury briefings hint at trimming the list of royals who draw taxpayer stipends, news Camila quietly hoped would spare her extended family. Suddenly, the Queen's posthumous endorsement of Catherine carries extra weight, tipping the scales toward William's modernizing agenda. Yet before we dissect strategy, back up to the moment of revelation. Courtiers say Camilla's face tightened first, her knuckles whitening around a teacup inherited from Queen Mary. Can you blame her? She navigated decades of headlines to earn acceptance as queen consort, only to watch a ghostly hand anoint someone else with sovereign potential. Across the table, Catherine kept her gaze steady, lips barely parted, years of royal training kicking in, while William placed a reassuring hand over hers. Was that comfort or a shared realization that their path just grew steeper? We'll come back to that. Princess Anne, the trusted courier, is no stranger to royal brinkmanship. Friends claim the late Queen chose her daughter precisely because Anne's reputation for blunt honesty would guarantee the letter reached its target unaltered. One former equerry adds an intriguing subplot. The envelope had been locked inside the Queen's personal dispatch box since early 2021, marked private, deliver at my passing. If true, the plan predates Elizabeth's final frail months and suggests deliberate foresight rather than last-minute sentimentality. Zoom out, and the stakes become clearer. Polling over the past year shows public appetite for a fresher, slimmer crown, think duty without dynasty sprawl. William's proposal to reduce working royals dovetails with that mood, but it threatens cherished privileges for Camilla's relatives. Now add Elizabeth's wish for Catherine to be not just supportive but central, and the collision course writes itself. Still, history seldom moves in a straight line. Queen Elizabeth's relationship with Catherine was forged in quiet moments that rarely surfaced in tabloids. Few recall that in 2019 Her Majesty appointed Catherine a Dame Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, a personal honor, not a bureaucratic gong. Even fewer know the Queen slipped Catherine a vintage Rolleiflex camera from her own collection, praising the Duchess's eye for storytelling through photographs. That small gift inspired Catherine's Hold Still project during the pandemic, an initiative the Queen followed closely from Windsor, marking up printed submissions with handwritten notes. Those margins may prove to be the breadcrumbs of succession. Camilla's counter-narrative is no less human. She weathered decades of icy reception, only to rebuild her image as a literacy champion and steadfast partner to Charles. Friends describe her alarm at William's financial blueprint not as greed but as loyalty. She fears seeing loyal supporters, like her sister Annabel or long-serving aides, pushed to the sidelines. In Camilla's mind, family is a patchwork, and ripping out any square ruins the quilt. Meanwhile, William's spreadsheets show hard numbers. Public engagements by senior royals have dropped 28% since pre-pandemic highs, yet the sovereign grant ballooned past £110 million last year. His pitch: focus resources on a core team, channel savings into youth entrepreneurship and climate innovation, projects that resonate with under 35 voters. The Queen's letter now gives his plan a moral accelerant. How can critics claim his sidelining tradition when tradition itself, via Elizabeth II, endorsed a transformation? Behind palace walls, The mood keeps shifting. One page reports hearing raised voices rare in those panelled corridors when Camilla questioned the precedent of a queen regnant alongside a living king. William allegedly answered, "It wouldn't be without precedent, just without recent memory." Cue stunned silence. Did Camilla interpret that as a threat to her own status? Palace's sources insist no titles change overnight, yet the psychological tremor is undeniable. Catherine's ceiling just lifted to cathedral height. Rhetorical pause. Would the British public accept a dual monarchy? Look at the numbers. A 2025 YouGov Snap poll shows 61% of respondents aged 18 to 34 viewing Catherine as the royal most in touch with modern life, double her nearest rival. Among over 55s, she still tops the chart at 42%. Meanwhile, approval for Camilla hovers in the mid-30s, stable but hardly bulletproof. Data alone doesn't crown a queen, but it arms courtiers with leverage when arguing which face should headline the next royal era. And let's not ignore Princess and herself, the unsung architect of this drama. Friends say she fears a bloated court will alienate taxpayers and push the monarchy toward Republican cliffs. By siding with William and Catherine, and effectively extends the Queen's minimalist vision. As one palace insider put it, if Anne plants her flag, expect the household cavalry to march behind it. Watch this space. The Princess Royal's influence, long underestimated, may soon hit the front pages. Every few paragraphs, another hook yanks us forward. What happens if Catherine embraces Elizabeth's vision and claims a more commanding role, perhaps chairing the Privy Council or spearheading constitutional outreach? Could that accelerate William's timeline to the throne if Charles's health wavers? Royal biographers are already bookmarking chapters. Yet Catherine's greatest tests will be intangible. She must balance compassion with authority, glamour with gravitas. Remember her recent health scare that kept her off calendar for weeks? She returned stronger, wearing the ordeal like invisible armor. Insiders whisper the Queen's letter referenced that resilience. The crown demands a steady flame through all seasons. Catherine now carries that sentence as both compliment and caution. Public reception, unsurprisingly, leans in her favor. Social channels lit up with hashtags #QueenKate and #ElizabethsWish within hours of the leak. TikTok edits spliced archival footage of Elizabeth II at Trooping the Colour with Catherine greeting schoolchildren in Belfast, underscored by anthemic remixes. Engagement topped 12 million views by sunset, proof that monarchy may be centuries old, yet its fanbase refreshes faster than any streaming algorithm. Camilla's camp is recalibrating. Expect a ramp-up of charitable visibility, book launches, shelter visits, maybe even a dash of late-career glamour on red carpets to reinforce her relevance. One aide hints at a literacy push across Commonwealth nations, aiming to outshine Catherine's early years projects. Competition within the family isn't new, but the Queen's letter adds a scoreboard. Meanwhile, William must play statesman and son, modernizer and monarch-in-waiting. His allies insist the reforms are about lean efficiency, not personal vendettas. Still, the optics of cutting Camilla's relatives from stipends while elevating his wife to an unprecedented throne could prove combustible. The solution? Transparency. Expect budget line items published earlier than usual, plus a listening tour of regional councils where William will echo his father's eco-advocacy, signaling continuity even as he trims the entourage. Zoom once more to the broader canvas, a 1,000-year institution navigating TikTok attention spans and post-Brexit identity crises. If Catherine steps into Elizabeth's imagined role, she becomes a symbol of calibrated progress rooted in heritage yet speaking fluently to a smartphone generation. That balance could either reboot the monarchy's legitimacy or expose its seams. High stakes. Absolutely. But then, Elizabeth II never wrote small notes for small stakes. We end where we began, Balmoral's drawing room, now quiet except for logs crackling down to embers. The envelope lies empty in a locked bureau, its message is out, its ripples widening across press desks and parliament corridors. Whether Catherine ascends as an equal sovereign or redefines the consort role from within, one thing is certain: the late Queen is still guiding her family, parchment by parchment, into uncharted timelines. If you don't want to miss the next twist, be it reform, rivalry, or or coronation, tap subscribe right now and join our growing community following every heartbeat of Windsor history. Somewhere in the Highlands, mist drifts over Balmoral as dawn breaks again. New light, new era, same crown waiting for the next chapter to be written.